Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to Wayne Bennett's podcast. My name is Wayne Bennett. It's October 2022, and this is episode 81. Our guest today is a family friend, Anthony Byrge. Welcome, bud.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, the last time there was an interview between me and you were interviewing me in 2008. You had your own radio program, and you were interviewing me when I was been honored by the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Do you remember that?
I sure do. Now it's ironic because the shoe's on the other foot. Things are coming to full circle then.
What was the radio station? I forgot.
I worked for all the different ones. It was either the River, 103 CR, or WTNJ, one of three.
And was it a daily show?
Well, I had a morning sports program. I did the scores and gave stories, and just like 30 minutes twice a day. It was a fun job.
Now, how did that come about? How did you end up getting that job?
Well, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in communications. I just knew some people in the business and interviewed and got it through my connections that way.
Now, let's go back a little bit. When you were going to public schools, where did you go to elementary school?
I went to elementary school at Cranberry Prosperity. I started out as an Eagle.
And then you ended up at Stratton Junior High.
I sure did. That old building, I think, is an elementary school. Now Beckley and Stratton are consolidated, but I was on South Kanawha at the old Stratton Middle School. Yes, sir.
Now, you were the manager of the basketball team there for a few years.
I was. All 3 years I was there, I worked under Coach Byrge Bostic, a good guy. I know you've had him on the podcast a couple times.
How'd you keep him straight?
Oh, man. They should have given me hazard pay. Are you kidding me?
Now, they had some pretty good ball teams back then. You remember some of the players?
Oh, absolutely. We had some good ball teams. I don't remember specific player names, but 2 years when I was there, we won the county championship. We had 2 undefeated seasons.
Now, when you graduated from Woodrow, and you said you had a BA, what school did you go to after you graduated?
Mountain State University. I think it's now West Virginia Tech. But it was Mountain State University when I went until I graduated in 2005, but it was Mountain State until I think, 2012?
And while you were in high school, what year did you graduate high school?
96.
96.
Showing my age a little bit, yep.
You ever been back to any reunions or anything?
I have. I went back to my 10-year reunion and scared everybody. They're like, oh, no, he's back. Can't get rid of him.
What kind of music did you listen to back then?
I listen to just about anything, country, rap, rock, just depends on whatever mood I'm in. Bluegrass, even sometimes classical.
Tell you how old I am. I had your dad in school.
Oh boy!
And he was a good student.
Well, first of all, let me apologize for you having to deal with him. I'm sorry.
Tell us about your siblings. You've got a brother and a sister.
Yeah, I have a brother, Eric. He's 36. He's currently living in Orlando, Florida now. Works for Staples as a manager for the corporate company. And my sister she graduated from WVU with a full degree in occupational therapy. She's an occupational therapist now, but she's actually currently overseas. She's in the Netherlands.
Really?
Hanging out with her boyfriend and volunteering over there while he works at college. He's going to be a physicist, so he got accepted to college in the Netherlands. She's overseas until this coming August.
Now, you mentioned being a manager on a basketball team. Did you was basketball a favorite sport, or?
Oh, it always has been. I started managing basketball teams my 5th grade year in elementary school, and I continued doing on different levels all the way through college.
Now, I know you're a big wrestling fan.
I am.
But I have my son here, Jeremy. How did you guys get together? When did you first meet?
Well, that's funny. We basically got together because of wrestling, and Jeremy and I were at the YMCA summer day camp together, and we just started talking, connected over wrestling, and the rest is history.
Yeah, Anthony and I met in, I believe it was the summer of '88. It was one of the day camps that I believe my mother was running. I had never met Anthony before, but he was coming down the sidewalk there in his wheelchair with his dad, and because I'd never met him before, he and I started talking. I think he had like one of those fake foam wrestling belts that they had out at the time, and so noticing that he had that, that's where the conversation started, and we've been friends 30-some years now.
There was a picture out on Facebook about a year ago or so, and they had, I think it was Mark Hicks had you in a chokehold or something, and Mark actually wrestled a little bit at Park Junior High. He was a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah, he was. He was real good. Mark was a good friend of mine back then. He had me. He snuck up behind me and had me in a sleeper hold. It was funny.
Over the years, you've watched a lot of wrestling. What was one of the biggest events or most memorable events you've been to?
Oh, I've been to a lot of the local events. Back in 1999, I think WCW did a pay-per-view in Charleston. I was actually front row and center for that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was
that stuff. Was WCW sold out, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah.
Did you go to that one too?
No, never went to a WCW pay-per-view or anything like that.
Now, Jeremy and I have been to shows together, but they've just been smaller house shows. But we've been to shows in Charleston. We've been to shows in Beckley at the local armory. So we hang out and do that quite a bit.
We've been to a couple in Oak Hill.
Sure have.
So yeah, we've been all over the place.
Now, I never did watch a whole lot of the professional wrestling. I would catch it every once in a while, but it was on at the house most of the time. And one particular wrestler that I liked was Dusty Rhodes and the American Dream.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of reasons, and Jeremy probably doesn't even know this, but I think his real name was Virgil.
Yes.
Virgil Runnels.
Virgil Runnels, yeah.
And that was my father-in-law's name. Plus, he was born on October the 11th, and that's when I was born.
Yeah, Dusty just had a birthday.
Yeah. And I kind of liked, he was a very marketable person. People liked him. He liked his interviews. And even though he didn't have the physical stature that a lot of guys had, he stayed around quite a while.
He was relatable, the son of a plumber.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Dusty was 300 pounds, and definitely looked like it, but surprisingly, he had very good cardiovascular conditioning. I mean, he could wrestle 60 minutes a night if he absolutely needed to. So, yeah.
Anthony, who was your favorite wrestler?
That's easy. I've got a few favorite wrestlers, but top of the list has got to be Nature Boy Ric Flair. That's got to be another reason that Jay and I bonded was over Rick.
And my mother can attest to this. One of the things that Anthony and I used to do at this particular day camp every summer that we got together, of course, we're chopping each other like what Ric Flair did to his opponents every night. So,
and she would say, "You two stop that! Y'all act like y'all got some sense."
When I worked at the Y, they were putting on. I think I've told this before, but they were putting on a show at the Armory, and this would have been back in the late '70s, maybe early '80s. And the day of the show, Ric Flair, the Iron Sheik, Precious Paul Ellery, and I can't remember who else it was.
Didn't you say that Dick Slater was one of them?
I'm not sure. There was about 5 of them, but they all came in the car that Ric Flair was driving, and they worked out together. But when they came in, he had a Rolex watch, Flair did, and we had to keep it in the safe while he was working out.
Yes, sir.
And then they all got in the car. They were there a couple hours. They tried to shoot basketball, and then they got in the pool a little bit, and then they took off. But they probably all wrestled each other that night, but they were together that day. Yep. And then I saw Ric Flair at an amateur wrestling match one time. I think he had a son that was wrestling a little bit.
He did. Reed, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
That was his youngest son, Reed, yeah.
Yeah. Is he still wrestling?
Well, he just had his last match at, I think, like 72. So, I mean, I'm glad Rick got out there one last time, but he really doesn't need to do anymore. He's got nothing left to prove. He should just do appearances and stuff. I mean, it was a decent last match, but he's still doing appearances and all, but hopefully he doesn't get back in the ring anymore.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that a 73-year-old man trying to still do professional wrestling is not my idea of entertainment. So I still have not watched that match to this day. So WWE gave him a good send-off in 2008, and that's probably where it should have stayed.
Anthony, how has wrestling changed over the years? I mean, since you started watching it, what has it improved or gotten worse, or how?
Well, I would say it's gotten to more of a show aspect, and it's gotten more to entertainment and got away from the wrestling part a little bit. I don't particularly prefer. I mean, I like all wrestling, but I like it better in the old days more than I do now. And plus, let me go ahead and say I love amateur wrestling too, and it's awesome for me because, hate to blow your head up a little bit, but I'm sitting across from an amateur wrestling legend, a coaching legend, so, it's all good.
But, yeah, I agree with Anthony. It's gotten more to the entertainment aspect, which you could kind of see that was the way that things were going with Hulkamania coming in the 1980s and all that. So but I still say that 80s wrestling is way better than what it is now.
Well, it's all the entertainment and sports and everything has gone toward the money.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, if you'll research all the rule changes in baseball, football, basketball in the last 30 years have been for the fans, not necessarily for the sport itself.
Yeah.
It's trying to make more acceptable for the fans, and that's that's what pays the bills, and that's what you got to do. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but
I mean, whether you prefer it or not, if you still like sports, if you still like wrestling, you either have to adapt to what it turns into or you don't watch it, and it turns into I think more sizzle and less steak nowadays. And I mean, like you said, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what I prefer.
Now you actually had a visitor a few years ago come to your house, and kind of a surprise type thing, wasn't it?
Oh man, that was awesome. Yeah, it was actually a real good story. WWE legend Jake the Snake Roberts. He's not wrestling anymore, but he does comedy shows around the country talking about his old wrestling stories. And he was doing a show back in 2016 in Beckley at the Armory. And I was having transportation issues at the time, so I wasn't able to get there. So, unbeknownst to me, and the Armory was like, 5-10 minutes from my house and stuff like that. But unbeknownst to me, my wonderful brother and sister-in-law, they emailed Jake's management and told him my story and didn't tell me any of this. Well, about 20 minutes before his show started, there was a knock at my door, and it was Jake the Snake Roberts. He actually came to visit me before his show and hung out, and we actually wrestled around on the floor a little bit, and he gave me some autographed pictures, and Jake and I still talk to this day when he's not very busy.
So you became a really big fan.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always been a fan of Jake's anyway, but now he's more my friend instead of just a wrestler I grew up watching.
Besides the wrestling, do you prefer certain types of movies that you watch, or any actors or actresses, or?
Well, I'm a real big fan of Sylvester Stallone. I love horror movies. I love action movies. I love comedies. Like I said, when it comes to movies and sports and music, I have a diverse hobby there as far as liking all of it. It just depends on what mood I'm in, or whether it's Halloween season or anything like that,
You're going to have to go to one of the Calasino's trivia nights when they have the questions about movies and stuff. They have some pretty good contests up there sometimes. You could probably do a real good job with that.
Oh, I'd say I probably would, with as much TV and movies as I watch. I'd say I probably would, yeah.
Now, isn't it true that you met Sylvester Stallone?
I did. I've actually been blessed, and again I say blessed because none of that stuff was set up on purpose. I just happened to be at the right place, right time. I met Sly years ago when I was sent on a trip to Los Angeles, and Sly and I spent about 45 minutes together in a press conference at the mayor's office, and it was an experience I'll never forget.
Do you remember the year that happened?
It was the week of May 15th, 1988.
Okay.
Any other big names that you've met over the years that you can recall?
Oh, gracious. It goes from wrestlers to movie stars. I met Sylvester Stallone. I met Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune.
I think I remember that.
Got to see a Wheel of Fortune taping. I got to be taken out on the baseball diamond by Tommy Lasorda. And I got to see the Dodgers play the Expos later that night. Got to have dinner with the famous actor John Voight.
Wow.
Angelina Jolie's his daughter. She wasn't born at the time, obviously, but I met Joe Hanna and Bill Barbera that draws the Flintstones, the Jetsons, all those cartoons. I just had a whirlwind week in California.
If you had it to do over, what was there? Would there be something you would do differently if, as you were growing up? You say you're getting ready to turn 45.
Sure am.
Is there anything you would do differently if you had an option?
Well, hey, it's no secret. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I would love to be walking. Anybody in my position would, but at the same time, I'm thankful for exactly the way God made me, and I'm real happy with my life. I mean, every now and then, everybody has their down days, but the mood you see me in right now, 97% of the time, and Jeremy and the rest of you guys can attest to this, is pretty much what you get.
Yeah, that's actually one of the other things that drew us as friends was, his attitude, because no, I hadn't really met anyone in his position, but me meeting him, though, made me understand that, yeah, he is in the position that he's in, but he still has such a wonderful attitude. He loves meeting new people, which, I've always had issues with that. So there's kind of yin and yang with he and I. He's more the social butterfly, and I'm really not. So,
well, I know at Jeremy's wedding, you were the best man.
Which one?
And I don't know which one, but you made a toast, and one of the things you said in the toast was, Jeremy, I don't know your wife that well, but if you love her, I love her. And I thought that was pretty special.
Well, sure.
And
Anybody that's connected to him or you all as the Whole Bennett family, they've got to be good people, because you guys don't connect to just anybody. So,
yeah, same thing with me. I will never forget the phone call. He calls me the day of him finding out that his sister Kendall was coming. He was so excited, and so I'm sitting there like, well, if he's excited, I'm excited. So his mom and sister and brother, I consider them my family also. His mother can attest to the fact that on Facebook, I call her Mama Byrge. So, his family is my family also. So that's just how close we are. Even though we're not blood, we do consider each other brothers.
What's on your bucket list? What would you like to do that you haven't done? You've done a lot of stuff.
Man, I'm just so blessed. I don't really have a bucket list. I just take life and the good things that come with it, and I appreciate them all. I don't really have anything I want to do, because anytime if you'll excuse me saying, anytime I dip my foot into something, I just try to do it, and put a notch on my belt and make an experience out of it.
Well, I noticed you got away with women on the Facebook.
You just had to go there, didn't you? It was all safe until now. Here we go, folks. Strap in.
For the record, for some of the females out there, if you guys have any issues with Anthony, just hit me up on Facebook. I'll mess him up a little bit, whatever it is that needs to be done.
Well, who's your most favorite female wrestler?
Oh, it's got to be Rick's daughter, Charlotte Flair. I've actually met Rick a few times. To answer your question, one of my goals is to meet Charlotte one of these days. I hadn't done that yet.
Well, Anthony, our time's about up, buddy. I told you it would fly, and I really appreciate you talking to us. And my big question is, will you talk to us again?
Oh, anytime, man. All you got to do is ask. Like I said, I love you guys. I'd do anything for you. I know y'all would do anything for me. So just ask, and I'll be available.
Sounds good. Anybody else out there would like to be on our program, hit me up at awbennett50@gmail.com. And remember, if you're not dead yet, you're not done yet. Until next time, God bless you.